The United States Navy has been the most powerful maritime force on Earth since 1945. A fleet so dominant that for decades the question was never whether America ruled the seas, but by how much. But sometime around 2020, a threshold was crossed that most Americans never noticed. China's People's Liberation Army Navy surpassed the U.S. Navy in total number of warships, and it has not looked back according to the 2024 Pentagon China Military Power Report. The PLAN now operates over 370 battle force ships, with projections for early 2026 pushing that number toward 395. And the pace of construction is so staggering that Secretary of the Navy Carlos del Toro and Admiral John Aquilino have both noted that China is launching roughly enough tonnage to build an entire navy the size of the Royal Navy every 4 years. The U.S. Navy, meanwhile, has 296 ships, and that number is expected to drop to 287 by the end of 2026. In today's video, we'll break down the most alarming shipbuilding gap since the Second World War, and why the United States may not be able to close it. To understand the scale of what China has accomplished, consider the trajectory. In 2005, the PLAN had roughly 220 ships, most of them outdated coastal patrol vessels. By 2015, that number had grown to 255, with a noticeable shift toward modern blue water combatants. By 2020, it was 350, and today it is approaching 400. The Office of Naval Intelligence estimates the fleet will reach 435 ships by 2030, and potentially 475 by 2035. And these are not small patrol boats. China is simultaneously producing every class of modern warship, something no country has done since the United States in World War II. The crown jewel of China's surface fleet is the Type 055 Renhai-class destroyer, and calling it a destroyer understates what it actually is. At 13,000 tons displacement, it is larger than most Western cruisers, and it carries 112 vertical launch system cells, compared to the 96 cells on an American Arleigh Burke class. More than 10 are already operational, and production continues. China has also built over 25 Type 052D destroyers at 7,500 tons, each producing them at a rate of 3 to 4 per year. It is churning out Type 054A and B frigates at similar rates, and its submarine fleet includes a growing number of Type 039 UN-class conventional submarines alongside the newer Type 095 nuclear attack submarines and the Type 096 ballistic missile submarines that will carry China's sea-based nuclear deterrent. And on top of all of this, China commissioned its third aircraft carrier, the Fujian, at over 80,000 tons, with electromagnetic catapults in late 2025, with Pentagon reports suggesting a goal of 9 carriers by 2035, including nuclear-powered Type 004 vessels. But here's the kicker. The ships themselves are only half the story. The real advantage is the industrial base that builds them. A leaked U.S. Navy briefing slide from 2023 revealed a figure so shocking it became instant headline news. China has 232 times the shipbuilding capacity of the United States. The major Chinese shipyards, Jiangnan in Shanghai, Dalian in the northeast, Hudong Zhonghua, and Huangpu Wenchong are enormous facilities that can build carriers, destroyers, and frigates simultaneously. And they benefit from something the U.S. cannot replicate. China controls approximately 50% of the global commercial shipbuilding market. In 2024, China built over 1,000 commercial vessels. The United States built 8. Those same dry docks, those same welders, those same supply chains that build commercial tankers can be converted to military production in wartime, giving China a surge capacity that dwarfs anything in the Western world. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy's shipbuilding industrial base is in crisis. The fleet's goal was set at 355 crewed ships, plus 134 unmanned vessels. But the Navy cannot build fast enough to even maintain its current numbers, let alone grow the Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine program. The most important nuclear deterrent project in the U.S. military is facing a 12 to 16-month delay, with a total program cost of approximately $123 billion. The Constellation-class frigate was restructured in November of 2025 after falling 3 years behind schedule, and Virginia-class submarine production has dropped to between 1.2 and 1.4 boats per year, far below the 2.33 per year needed to meet both U.S. requirements and UK-US commitments to Australia. The two major shipbuilding conglomerates, Huntington Ingalls Industries and General Dynamics, operate yards that are running at capacity, with backlogs stretching years into the future and across all U.S. naval shipyards. There is a shortage of over 100,000 skilled workers. The quality versus quantity debate is the most important strategic question in modern naval warfare, and the honest answer is uncomfortable. The U.S. Navy retains enormous qualitative advantages. Its nuclear-powered submarine fleet of 71 boats is quieter, more capable, and more experienced than China's 12 to 15 nuclear submarines. The Aegis combat system remains the gold standard for integrated air and missile defense, and 11 supercarriers with battle-hardened air wings give the U.S. a power projection capability China cannot yet match. But here's the problem that keeps admirals awake at night. A U.S. destroyer carries 96 vertical launch cells, and when those cells are empty in the middle of a battle, that ship becomes a $6 billion target with no way to reload at sea. Quantity has a quality all its own, and historical analysis by Captain Sam Tangradi found that in 25 out of 28 major naval wars, the larger fleet won. War games tell a similar story. CSIS and RAN simulations of a Taiwan conflict frequently show the U.S. winning, but at catastrophic cost, losing 2 carriers and more than 20 destroyers. And the critical finding is that the U.S. has no industrial capacity to replace those losses for a decade. China could rebuild its losses in 2 to 3 years. The asymmetry is not in the weapons, it is in the factories. The U.S. is not standing still. The Make Shipbuilding Great Again initiative launched in February of 2025, and the AUKUS partnership are attempting to leverage South Korean and Japanese shipyards for maintenance and eventually production. Secretary Frank Kendall has acknowledged the problem, directly stating that the Chinese have a significant advantage simply because of the scale of their industrial base. But rebuilding shipyard capacity takes decades, not budget cycles, and at current production rates, analysts estimate China will reach equal total tonnage with the U.S. Navy sometime between 2037 and 2040. With significant local superiority in the Western Pacific arriving much sooner.